Okay, the B&O run is up to 45. I thought it was 51, but the fives haven't come out yet. That's a $60 difference. 30 bucks doubled. I upgraded this, which also is illegal. Oops. Which means I'm actually another 20, 40 bucks off. So that gets me back to the 41 that we thought we were at. When the 5 comes out, these go. If I'm gonna swallow, this is the time to do it. I collected my money for this sucker. Let's look at the prices on trains. Because we clearly will have enough for a 5 train no matter what. If it's a 6 or 8, we're looking, or 6 or 4D, we're looking at $600 or $800. $600 we can probably make up just by running that thing. $800 is starting to get a little questionable. Could we make $1,100 if we get the option for a 5 and a 6? Because we would want 2 trains on this company. We basically want one coming through here and one. Unfortunately, we're never going to hit this port. We're set up, and this may be one of the reasons setting the port up wasn't that important, but then that's where our dot is. We're never going to get the port bonus because we're not going to end there, and because this link happens, and we're going to be taking the 140 from that. I still would have liked the port early in the game, but 410 bucks, 800, that puts me around 900. I'd still possibly need another swallow, but the runs off my freight train might just do it. I don't know. There's a few things in each direction. One is, this guy's almost at certificate limit, so giving him extra money doesn't help him as much as it helps me without my certificates filled out, although I may never catch him. I only have a 1 share advantage on these other 2 players, but whatever the B&O does could pull ahead of these companies. It's just a number of things to try to balance. Do I just want the cash on hand? Well, my gut tells me that if I had a good amount of shares of this, I would definitely want to swallow because it's going to be a monster. If I'm going to make money off of it swallowing, I think I want to anyway. Of course, that makes shares less likely to come my way after I swallow because the hit's already been taken. But I just can't see not doing so, honestly. I think the game's going to be long enough that I'm going to have a fair chance at 2 trains. Now, it does put the threat out there that I may have to swallow again to get that second permanent train. Norfolk Western is one of a couple of companies that's involved in the dot race for this. What that means is I can't lay these 2 tracks. RF&P is going to win that race because of that, and that's fine. I own the RF&P, so at least one of my companies gets the edge. It also means the Norfolk and Western's freight train is probably not a great thing, but it's not terrible. I laid this track. I'm going to be able to run here. I won't get the bonus from it, but I get 60. That's not cheat. 70. Those don't count. 60 more brings me to 130. And this is 100 because it's doubled for the freight train. So that makes it 23 a share. I have my 500 bucks. I'm never going to be running coal for the bonus, the excess money. I definitely want to pay out because I'll be getting this. That'll get me dot money. So I don't want to play a dot because they'll cost me 100 bucks and I won't have the cash in hand. Well, I might. 23 times 4 is 92 bucks. Yes, I will have the money for the dots and the train. So where do I want my dot is the question. And what kind of train do I want? There's a bonus still to me getting a 4G instead of a 5. Let's look. The 5 would run God knows where. But here maybe 70, 100. $130, $160, $190, $220. Now these upgrade, which is one thing to keep in mind. But $220 isn't as good as the 23 I'm running right now because I'm getting 100 from this. So this would go to 7140 and 1, 2, 3, 4, 120, 260, 270, 330. So I think we're better off getting the freight train. Given that, which dot is important? This one seems the most important because it can control access in either direction. Problem? Well, it doesn't screw the RF&P, so it's not a problem. Good enough. I think we're fine. Eventually, we probably want to try to hit more of these and get a couple extra bucks in that way. But that's like upgrading cities. It's just a minor thing. Choice of trains. I may have made a mistake, and I may have made a mistake where my dot is. I don't have room for 2 freight trains. So I think I actually do have to buy the 5, which means my dot shouldn't be here. It should be here because this is the 3G run that I want to make sure of. But maybe the 5 run is more important with the openings. This space is more important to me overall because I can find multiple ways to get to here. They may not all be as good though, but that's our hope. What the hell? Is plain X's or brown? Those go from green? What the hell? I don't know what this is. This 544. It's not clear how it upgrades. It upgrades from these sort of partial greens. The greens aren't as impressive as they are in your normal set. Okay. Weird. Because of the junctions, they're trying to make a little bit more challenge in the track lives, I guess. I don't know if this is the game where these came out. I doubt it. So many games, so many different track tiles. It's hard to tell. And I don't know what that 5 train is going to look like. But if the 3G is running here, the 5 will probably be going 1, 2, 3, and something up here. You know, whatever we can get, whatever works out the best. We do still have one more dot available if that's an issue. And I forgot to pay out to the people who actually hold the shares. Purchase that first 5 train is kind of a pain in the ass for everyone. Because, first of all, if there are any unreleased companies, they release at this point. And there are 3 of them. So they release their shares at this point. Secondly, this kills the 3 trains and the 2 Gs over here. And we go up to the brown level. Killing the 3s and 2-3 and 2Gs. This is a faster train pace at this moment than you normally see in the 1830 derivatives, the ones with the same sort of train set. Now, what we see here in terms of number of trains is not listed, of course. It may be listed here. The chart is not complete, and this is not complete, and that's annoying. So what do we have? 6, 5, 4, that sounds about right. And then 3 of these, that's about right too. And infinite essentially is usually the case, but this says 10, which I'm sure is more than enough. This is a little harsher than most games. Maybe because there's more money available in various ways, there seems to be a fairly easy way to capitalize your companies. Anyway, that gets us to the Southern, who now has no train. They have enough money to buy one. I could buy a freight train, couldn't I? 1, 2, but I can't get the dot, and I don't have excess money. Although I could pillage some excess money from here. I do have 25 bucks, which could go to that dot. 2. I would love the freight train, but I can't hook it up. I could hook it up and do what the Norfolk and Western is doing, however, which may be my best run. 1, 2, 3, 4. Or in here, and then try to hit this or that doink. Both look kind of good. Not unappealing. How about we clog this spot with our dot? I think that's worthwhile. The Southern, the Maryland, is running a freight train. They already have their dot here, and they're planning on getting one there, getting a quick run. 4. This should be pretty sweet, actually. We got our 4G train. We have a fair amount of money, but again, we crashed back because no train. That brings us to the RF&P. The RF&P is interesting. I'm in position to put this dot down. That'll be necessary for running this. I need to come up with 600 bucks though. Now, all these shares pay out, so I'm going to need to get cash on hand and get the cash into this company during this and the next operating round. So I think I want to pay out rather than anything else. And everything's down to 10% shares now, so that'll make life a little easier. We didn't get to run any of those 20% shares we kept over. Given the situation, I think it's worth paying, hey, it's only 40 bucks for this possibly all-important dot down here, which we do connect to. And now we're running a 3G. That gives us 60 bucks in our company treasury, always good. And 60, 70. Make it 10 at 1. We didn't lay track yet, so 13, and I got one more. I will probably upgrade this, so we'll just make it 16 there, and I'm going to upgrade this space. Not great money, but okay. I'm not going to upgrade that space. That doesn't have a P. It has spaces that I can't enter. A P wouldn't solve its problem, so I have to look for something else. Gosh, I don't know. I don't know what I'm aiming for a train. I need a permanent train on this company. I need it bad. But I don't have a lot of control over that. 6s are going to be gone shortly. We may be stuck with the 4D, in which case we screwed up by putting our dot there, but at least we deny anyone else that dot. What happens with the 6s Not much. The first 4D becomes available, kind of like a 1830 diesels. There's a limited number of these brown upgrades. I don't know. Can I do something for the Norfolk and Western? Because it's not clear that I have anything I can do here. I'm going to upgrade this. That'll help both me and the Norfolk and Western. And that goes to a P. Crap. How was this? This was like that. It was connecting all the track. Okay. Which means we put the blank here, or we put it here. This looks pretty unimportant. What town is that? Is that Richmond? Damned if I can tell. So many special towns, but it is. Richmond will eventually upgrade to a 3-dot space. And is that when the 6s come out? It usually is. It doesn't. No, gray comes with the diesels. Okay. It would be too fast otherwise. We're not getting the first 6 though. Seriously? There's only 2 5s? No, there's a third 5. Okay. Because that would be a missing piece. We bought our dot and we just collect the income. And now I don't remember. Did I put the money in there or not? I think I did, the 60 bucks. I calculated up what the owner of the Virginia can do. He can come up with $549. That involves selling the C&O, the Norfolk and Western shares, all his cash, what he's got here. He could transfer money here and maybe survive, although I doubt it, because he'd be selling only 2 Virginia instead of 3 C&Os, and that would only be worth 140 instead of 190. I don't think we could even make it if we tried. But honestly, I think we're just looking at bankruptcy here, no matter what. So, his remaining stockholders will be placed in the pool. Now, first, he does have to make all of these exchanges before this happens. But whatever stock he has remaining will go in the pool, which could be more than 50%. 3, 4, 5, that's not going to be an issue here. 3. There are no presidencies that'll change in hands that way. Any private companies he owns are discarded and he's eliminated from the game. The presidency is transferred to the next eligible player. There will not be such for any of these. So those 2 companies are going to be withdrawn with nothing. Now, the money would go in here if somebody else could end up with it, but that's not going to happen. So basically, he's just going to be deleted. The C&O and the Virginia are going to be put back over into available for play. And that's it. I see no reason to work real hard to try and get this. The only thing that does matter is a Norfolk and Western has to be sold, but that doesn't actually affect the price. The rest of these are just deleted along with the player. That's to the end of this operating round, which is kind of interesting because now there's a 3G train sitting in here. That's not destroyed. When the company goes under, that's available now for purchase. Nobody's got a problem with that right now. When the 6 comes out, it doesn't kill the 3G though. But that's not going to necessarily disrupt anybody's corporation. But starting a new company, you want to kind of make sure that you're not starting it on that unless you know exactly what you're doing. And we're back around. And unlike most games, even though the 5s are out, most of the XX games, that'll kill, at least the 30 variety, that'll kill the private companies. That's not the case in this one. The one remaining private company will just keep paying out its 15 a share, or 15 bucks a turn, each time it goes, until he decides to throw that cash in. He didn't need it here, no reason to do it. Yeah, 200 bucks, that could be a token that maybe I need. In fact, I kind of do now, but it also gets me, if I do a swallow, I could pick up a second train, which could do some interesting stuff as well. With that heavy freight train, I've now got an opening here. Is there anybody else who really wants that opening? Norfolk and Western also wants that opening, but they also don't have the cash on hand to grab it right away, which creates some interesting situations. But the Norfolk and Western would get to, if I had predicted everything correctly, I would have had $200 on this company still. Well, or close to it. Enough to buy that token, because I had to spend $25 of my own cash. Enough to buy that token and get the jump on the Norfolk and Western, and thus get the bonus from this. But as it is, this might end up giving me the opportunity to get a second permanent train, which might be even better. Norfolk and Western gets the first $50 a share run. I think there's no question but to pay this out with all those shares in there. And we also pulled $100, well, made the $100 that we need for the dot. No, we didn't. We did not. It was $60, so we have 40 left. Yeah, I thought we already had the dot there, so I was getting that. But still, we're running the 3G through here, which gets the doubled Norfolk, and gets this. And then a 5 train running up this way, and you can see we're hitting a couple of P's. That's a pretty good run overall. Can't really improve on it without upgrading more towns. If this upgrades, that immediately just gets us a free improvement. And $50 is darn good. B&O picks up another one of these. I've got too much excess money on the table down here not to use it. So I'm getting another heavy freight train. Once this upgrades to a port, that makes that more valuable perhaps, especially if I have another way in, basically one way coming this way and one way running down here that'll hit this doubled city. That's what I'm hoping, is to have 2 trains. This is not a permanent train. Somehow I thought I was getting a permanent train, a second permanent train out of this whole setup, but I don't have a whole lot of money. I will on this next run, and I may end up doing another swallow. This time though, a fairly small run gets me some stock value and gets me a little bit of cash on hand. Making the Baltimore and Ohio great, not necessarily a fantastic goal, because I only have 40% and 2 other players have 30, but you know, at least maybe I'm gaining on this guy or something. Or maybe I'm bringing us all down. I don't know. I don't really care. With that 5G though, is it's one of these, and it means that 4Ds are now available, which means essentially this is in here. And I'm going to do that because the top of the 4Ds is also available at the same time. There's no reason to say one or the other is to the advantage. Could have conceivably bought the 3G for less money, but I think I'm better off doing this. The only problem, it's going to cost me at least $600 and probably $800 for the next train. But I think that, assuming that nobody buys the 4D, and I don't see that kind of money kicking around yet. Baltimore and Ohio is going to move second next time after the Norfolk. The Norfolk is full up on trains. So is the Baltimore and Ohio, though. Terrible. Yeah. But we should be able to do one big swallow. And hopefully we'll be getting like $500 or something for that. That'll get us enough for the trains. We got no more tokens to play or anything like that. 4G with its permanent train is able to pull in, because of these shares, it doesn't have a dot anywhere yet, but if that's still open, it'll have it. There's 2 companies, and the Norfolk and Western wants it, so that dot is not going to be available to us, but something else may be. It's possible. Right now, though, this is quite valuable. The 4G is running there for $80 without counting against 4. Make it $90. I'm not set up so that I can hit both of these. The B&O did some bad track. Somebody did some bad track lay here. So we're trying to curve up and hit this one because we think we're not going to be dotted over there. And we may actually try to hook it up so we can hit all of these at once. Somebody did something terrible. There's no upgrades to brown on these little doinkers, which aren't really doinkers at all. Doesn't get into my head that I can't get into there, which I thought I could, or there for that matter. This track is kind of nasty. RF&P ran, made its money 20 something a share. This Maryland, geez, I don't know, man. I was planning on going up here and converting that and getting the big bucks with my Monster, able to get into that location. This is not really worth going to. I think I'm actually best off trying to play around with this crap. Except there are no sharp curves. There are no sharp doinkers. Interesting. Which means I can come out of here, slide down here. I'm looking at a 4G train. Let's say I just head down this way. That would be 1. Yeah. Well, I think the best we can do is actually hit our own dot and do this. And then if other people want to go through and don't want to hit this city, they'll make that connection for us, and that's fine and dandy if they want to do that. Alternately, they might want to connect here, and that's also fine with us. This doesn't upgrade, that's the only problem. Let's not restrict our dot. Let's just go here. All right, so that gives us, yeah, but that doesn't give us this now. Neither does the other, does it? Because we're not hooked up. Jeez, we got garbage run here. Because we can't get through here. We'll let somebody else figure out that track if they want to. We do indeed have to go up into here. And the only easy route is what we were laying down. The question is, do we want to dot somewhere? And at this point, I would say no. We probably want to bypass this city and get the dot here. That makes sense. 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah. Do we want to buy it now? It's pretty damn valuable. It's the only valuable thing up there. We were going to pay $100 for dot anyway. Let's put this here, and we'll work on getting that hooked up correctly. Yeah, because the special K can go in here. Maybe we need that now. I don't know. We made a slight change. Switch the track to this. Make a few more bucks in the short term. Going into a stock round gives us a little bit more money to play with. Who's that? This guy gone? That's a Virginia. That's gone. Get rid of that. And I hope I didn't destroy any companies that aren't supposed to be destroyed because of that. But that puts us back down to the stock round. Priorities over here. The die is going up here. And these guys flip over. And look, none of them are stacked, so I can do this safely. Can't do it safely with the wooden tokens if they're not stacked. I swear I have one with magnetic tokens. Maybe it's my, I found out my copy of 18EU isn't a real 18EU. It's kind of a prototype of it. I overpaid for it, but thinking I was getting a Deep Thought edition that's kind of not in great shape. The map is coming detached from the board it was pasted on, etc. It was really just a homemade version of it, and kind of interesting because it was painstakingly hand colored, which is awesome in some ways. It'll make me more likely to, well, it's basically unsellable, even though I bought it, but whoever sold it didn't like really advertise it properly, I think. But the guy who originally made it was commented on one of the videos that, hey, I think that was mine originally. But
yeah, it's kind of neat to have, I guess. And now I'm more likely to try to glue it back together and get it working again. As it was, it wouldn't have been sellable because it's falling apart in terms of the thing peeling off. But there was a lot I didn't like about 1880, to tell you the truth. And with 18OE in my hands, there's very little reason for it. There are other games that are better that are small, so it's not like that's an object and 18OE covers the topic better, in my opinion. Similarly, but better. But much, much more painful.
The interesting thing about this game is the bank has to run out. There's no bankruptcy escape clause for the whole game as a whole. And that's okay, except that, like, if the number of companies gets down so low, you know, and those 4Ds don't come out, it could be a long game with a small number of companies not running the biggest trains, if that ends up being the solution to it. And that could be kind of problematic. Right now, I'm looking at this guy and saying, well, you know, can he start a company that will have $600 worth of stuff? Can I dump $600 of money in there? And I don't have $600, so I mean, that's 82, 182, 282. I have about $300. So the answer is definitely no. If I could get to selling 6 shares of something, though, a lot of money would be released and a permanent train could be bought. And it would be very advantageous to being able to shift that around, given what the B&O's position is. 2 trains, fair amount of money, and, you know, maybe some need to be able to shift things around a little bit. I don't think that's the case for him. Somebody else might find a desirable situation to open up a company rather than buy out working shares. You know, like this guy has $450 just kicking around, but he does have 2 companies, and one of them he has to try to float cash for, so that's unlikely. He's probably going to be buying his RF&Ps, but he may make some choices before that. Over here, we have a couple $100. All these B&Os. Now, if I sell them off one at a time, I can change the presidency, but that's not appealing. This is the guy who I want in charge of it if it's going to be just dumped. But he has a fair amount of shares in cash, so he could conceivably start another company. What does that do for him? With a permanent train, it probably doesn't hurt him. If he can get to that 600, there might be a company available for him to start. And that's the same situation this guy over here is in. His company's safe with a permanent train and has enough shares and money. So you may see the B&O, at least somebody, I mean, it doesn't have far to drop, but at least somebody may start a company out of those 2. Anyway, it ain't this guy. He's got to worry about whether or not he can afford risk buying something as it stands. The only thing, he can't get 2 shares of anything. He doesn't have quite enough money to get 2 shares, and he's got kind of the cheapest shit that's out there. I don't see any, I mean, the RF&P shows some promise, but the other 2 lines he has have permanent trains. They're not going to swallow. They're not going to do anything tricky. And the Norfolk and Western has a permanent train. I can't be sure. But if I'm in it for the long haul and those 2 remaining companies or reborn companies end up being eaten up, there's not much else for me to do with my money. I'll just be sitting on companies anyway. So I think I'll buy the NNW for him. And we'll come back and see what happens with the rest of the stock round pretty much. Okay, so far he bought the NNW. He bought himself a... I'm going to see what the hell's going on out there, but he bought himself a Western Maryland. It's the second share of it, but he's sitting right before him. He has to basically hand priority if he's going to give a problem, so he can always dump him. What he looks at is he can buy 2 shares of Western Maryland. He can only get 1 of either the Southern or more likely his own Norfolk and Western. He kind of doesn't want to buy a Norfolk and Western. Those shares that are in there give him
operating cash, which you can use for his companies. Most places I've lived in, I don't know, past 30 years, it's very unusual to hear voices at this hour of the night. It's, after 10 p.m. There's not students living around here, and I'm just always curious. I didn't see anything going on, so I don't know. But I have no idea where they were coming from. It sounded like out front, which is really weird. Okay. This guy had an interesting choice, though. He was thinking about starting another company. There's a lot of advantages to it. One, the extra certificate. I'm at 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 right now. The limit is 10, though. And I'll be cutting close to that limit at this point. The problem is, in order to start that other company, I have to get rid of shares of the best company out there, or one of the best companies. If you count the share value, it is the best company. And of course, I want to start whatever I start kind of high. I got to take into account what's up with this dot. What could go there? So, Norfolk and Western has a dot. Okay, I'm not going to beat it, so I'm not going to be able to get that, which means now I'm looking at like the Virginia without a dot there, without a dot here, or the C&O, which I think is here. There's the map on the back of the rolls, which is probably more useful, which doesn't look a whole hell of a lot better. So this is a really painful decision if I'm going to buy a new company at this point. I can make a good deal of money off those B&Os. On the other hand, I do have the permanent train already. There's the cheap permanent train. I don't think that beats my B&O shares, though. I don't think the extra certificate beats that. So it's really only if I can leverage an extra train and get, say, 2 trains on my Western Maryland. I don't think I can do that. So now I gotta think. And what is worth having, what's not. I can certainly find room for a Southern. I can pick up a damn RF&P safely. And that adds me to 200 bucks. And then I don't have much else. The alternative, I don't think there's anything cheaper than that. So that's probably what I'm going to do, is just spread out my shares and not worry about the B&O getting dumped on me. I think that's pretty unlikely. Similar position here with the Southern, but there's a difference. I have this. That isn't 200 bucks because I got to pay at least 30, but it's 170 bucks towards another permanent train. That's beginning to turn the value around. If I can get a 6-share company out, buy this, and maybe a little bit of juggling, maybe not, may be able to get the big 4D, may be able to crash some of these damn 3Gs. You know, the problem is it's probably a hit to get rid of these B&Os. This guy chose not to do it. If I do it, where am I? Well, I actually have more shares than he does, more valuable shares. Our lines are surprisingly similar. This one's a little bit richer than my Southern because it's actually making use of its main rail line there. Phew. I don't know. I really don't know. This is upgradable. Shit. I thought I could never upgrade. I got confused because of something else. Well. Yeah, I totally wanted that dot there, and that's gonna fuck with anything? Is someone able to get in there? Well, it's not too late. I built my dot here. You know what? I'm just gonna move this here. I wanted this dot there because I can run 1, 2, 3, 4, my big train there, and that shuts this off so nobody can get that dot except the Maryland. So that's where I want it to be. I forgot. This means there's only one missing space and the P's can upgrade that. So that's actually important to me. And right now I could have actually run 1, 2, 3, 4 to here, which is of some importance as well. So, oops. This is what happens when I try to play, in little pieces, and my mind's kind of distracted and working on other things. But it's the only way I get any gaming in, really, is I take my slices where I can. So I am going to move that because this whole piece is just so confusing to me. The fact that I couldn't upgrade for all this time, and now it's been able to upgrade for a while, and I thought it wasn't, but it actually is. It only has one blank space that it can't reach, and I thought it had two, like these others do. Fate seems to dictate that I want to do this. I am going to sell 2 of these, I believe. I don't know if it's 1 or 2 of these. It gets me to exactly $600. That is just too good to refuse. False. I was counting. This is the B&O. It is not. It's kind of hard to see. They're dark, and I'm not. And tiny. The tokens are tiny here, so that's not 270, which means I have to sell probably both my Western Marylands to do this. But I get to still keep a B&O. So these would be at 244 plus 82 plus 82 is 408. This gets me to 608. And then I have some change left. I think I want to do it still. The miscalculation is good enough. The big thing is I would like to take advantage of this special ability. I'd like to take advantage of that extra money. Even though the Maryland has more cash, I would like to try and see if I can get another train. And I think with that $600 put down, I get this 600 train, I think. I don't see anybody who can buy it before me. RF&P, they could. In which case, I have $1,000 for a diesel. A diesel could make good money. I'd have a lot of shares. Yeah, I don't know. Nobody seems to be buying up the Southerns either. So money might be coming into there. And maybe, I'm not going to be able to get 2 diesels, but yeah. So I don't know. I'm not going to be able to get the, even with this 200, because that gets it to 600. Maybe. All right. Let's see what we can do. Pick some things loose. Another Norfolk and Western in the pool. I'm okay with that. That's fine. Because he had to buy another Baltimore and Ohio. Otherwise, well, he doesn't lose control, but the threat's there. He would rather try to stymie that threat and see if he can keep a share in there. That would be really cool. I might be able to run 2 separate trains out of here before the diesel comes. I don't think there's any requirement that you run the thing that makes the most money, because most money isn't well defined in this game, and I don't remember reading it. This guy's plan is not as bad as it might seem. He could always buy a share of RF&P and then dump it. He's got to do it on different rounds, but different turns in the stock round, but i.e. on different opportunities for him. But he can do it while he's floating this Chesapeake and Ohio, which will be showing up here. It is floated, by the way. It just doesn't have enough cash to run to buy a train, which, that's a problem, but he thinks he can do some good things with it. I'm not quite sure what, because both of his lines they kind of require a breakout through here. Now there's a possibility of this hex being a breakout. So that would get us into some kind of run. I don't know how good. But it does have a couple of these dots. He could put something down in Rocky Mount that could get you, make this a 10 space, which is not as good as that, but it's something. And you gotta worry. Richmond, which I think is this one,
and Washington, which I think is not that one, that's still in Virginia. Gotta be over here. Can both be upgraded to gray once the diesels come out, which is a little interesting. Oh, that puts things over to him now. He's got a B&O available instead of his Western Maryland, but the problem is he could get one more share of that Western Maryland. But the B&O, he doesn't have enough cash to take that right off. He needs to buy 3 more shares of RF&P, the way he sees things. He won't have to slap the RF&P around if he doesn't release the cash on it. So that's an issue. I just lost $12 on that Western Maryland, though. That kind of sucks. But if I'm going to hold a bunch of it, I might as well hold a bigger bunch of it. Although the more I hold of it, the less likely it is to pay out. And we've been seeing a progression. CNO's being bought there. He's got enough to buy it to sell it out, except as this guy got close to releasing the Richmond, the RF&P, he bought 1 share. That releases it. Tons of money here now. He doesn't have to waste his money on that. What else can he buy? I don't know. I don't think he sold anything, but I can't be sure. He doesn't have a whole hell of a lot here, $115. It was B&O that was available, but that got sucked up. So he's kind of left with, well, he could keep buying these Western Marylands, split the company. It makes this guy, well, it's not quite split. He'd only have 40%. It's not that great a company. The RF&Ps might be worth more, but maybe not. It's really hard to tell. Where's the RF&P power? They've got a freight train. I'm probably looking at that 6 train and then the possibility of another big train. So I'm looking at 2 big trains. Can I get $800 and $600, $1,400? 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 with a swallow, yeah. And that's probably worthwhile. So what do we do? You know, if we got 2 permanent trains on each of our companies, those are pretty damn good. And I'm kind of tempted to buy that RF&P. On the other hand, if I've got 50% of both my companies out there, that's pretty damn good too. And then maybe I don't need swallows. So what do we do? These guys are awfully damn cheap. And I got a horde of them anyway. I thought I could buy one, but actually my certificate limit is restricted. Now, I don't think this reduces. It was a 10 certificate limit. I don't think it goes up to a 13. I gotta look that up. How the certificate limit is worded on this game, because it is possible that he can hold 3 more shares. Currently, he doesn't have the capacity to do so. And certainly, I don't have the cash here to throw in and buy the Virginia at this point. It amounts to a rules ambiguity. A pretty bad one. Over here, each company is considered players are limited to owning certificates in accordance with the following table. Doesn't say anything anywhere about a bankruptcy. Further, in the bankruptcy rules, it also doesn't say anything about the certificate limit changing, but it also doesn't say it doesn't change. And had this been specific, I probably wouldn't have even looked there, but that could have overridden it conceivably. But with neither one saying anything about it, I'm left in kind of a blank spot. Now, normally, what do you do? Well, normally players don't drop out of games of 18xx. Normally, you can't be knocked out in that way. There's one where there's, and I don't know how it works, 1846, I think, where the first person who's bankrupt doesn't kill the game, but the second person does, which again partially ameliorates the danger of the 1830 style play, which is really, I've only seen it at tournaments, which is only coming in first matters. If I can run my company like shit, run it as hard as possible into the ground, no plans on survival, and If I'm the only one doing that, I will probably win the game. It's actually not guaranteed. If everybody else plays kind of conservatively, you actually will go bankrupt and you'll lose. But if a significant number of players are also doing that strategy, there's a pretty damn good chance that, well, it's almost guaranteed one of those players is going to go bankrupt, in which case one of those players is also going to be the winner. So let's say 2 players do that. At that point, you've kind of set it up so you're probably got a 50-50 chance of winning, unless people bop shares back and forth, bop trades back and forth to try to protect their company. It's not absolutely guaranteed. Somebody could end up taking a hit that's big enough that they're not destroyed, but they're knocked out of the game, and then the other person gets knocked out. Or they could both take hits that don't quite destroy them. But if you're running it hard enough, chances are that you aren't going to survive. If enough players are running it hard enough, somebody ain't going to survive. So one of the people who's running it hard enough is almost assured to win. They can look at other people and see, can I swap trains and force someone else out or something like that, and take a minor hit. But yeah, that's gone from this. But the question is, well, if you've got that player elimination, does that change the certificate limit? I'm going to look, see if there's any errata on it. I'm probably going to extend the certificate up to the 4-player game, simply because not doing so, if there's no rule on it, not doing so means that the game is going to go longer because, well, I don't know if it's guaranteed because trades might come out more quickly, but the game, I think, is going to go longer simply because there's less cash to start new companies or whatever it is that would happen in, something that started out as 4 players. So it may actually slow down the bank progression, but it may actually speed it up to be dumping all the money in the companies. I'm not sure which. We'll go see if there's anything online, but I highly doubt it. I find an answer in any place that I looked, including rules differences between the games. A version of the rules, which was 0.99, this is the next version that had basically the same as this. It was just a pre-release version that's online. I can't find anything. Therefore, it's just up to the players, I guess. My view is current game state will take precedence, mainly because whatever it is certificate limits meant to limit, to prevent, has been relaxed. There are less players. There's less of a restriction on it. It only really applies late in the game. Whatever effect it has, it's going to have unintended consequences, perhaps, if it was a 5-player game and is now a 4-player game, and the certificate limit's too tight. If this had started out as a 4-player game, there hadn't been a bankruptcy, I don't see much difference between this situation and that. Therefore, I'm going to allow him to actually buy that share he wanted to buy. But yeah. That may have actually changed people's decisions that they had additional shares. So him, for example, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Well, he actually had a problem. I have 4, 5, 6. Yeah, he could have gotten there. And he would have gotten there just perfectly fine. He's fine. So everybody's fine. This was the only exceeding the limit. And I think the limit should be exceeded. It'll pull money into people's hands more quickly, which is where they want it, in the sense that, yes, it might seem to break the bank here, but you're going to be trying to do things to get that cash into your hands in order to win the game. You won't be trying to get rid of this cash that you're sitting on once you hit certificate limit. The only thing you'll be doing is buying more shares. However, without buying those shares, a few $100, maybe $1,000 out of the bank. That's a significant amount of the size of the whole bank. You don't see. In 1830, somebody slaps your stock like this, and you're like, fine, I'll slap yours right back. Take that, bitch. That can't happen here. This hasn't run, I assume,
Yes, it ran long ago, but that was a different company as far as I'm concerned. Again, that's a bit of an ambiguity, but I don't feel like that's one that we really have to worry about. This hasn't run, though. Therefore, you can't sell its shares. So you don't end up with, and it's a particularly annoying thing to a lot of people. I don't mind it that much, but I know some players really don't like where you can buy, where people are basically buying up large holdings in a company to slap it down, and then they're kind of trying to do some kind of manipulation of the stock round ordering in order to be sure they're the guy who slaps the company the hardest. You know, they manage to get the location they want, and that's what this is all about. These three companies are going to go before the C&O or the RF&P, but none of those companies look like they're ready to buy a train at this point. These two are frozen. The +1 train token doesn't exist anymore, I think. And this guy has insufficient cash reserves. The only way he can do it is with the C&O. And it's his own company, so it's just not going to happen. So it's worth screwing around with priority to get yourself, the advantage in terms of the train buying situation. And the RF&P, as the existing company, was capable of being slapped down where the C&O is not. I'm not sure I agree with that. I kind of like the idea that the new companies can face hell coming in. But it is annoyingly complex to calculate whether or not you can safely start a company in 1830 at times. And it also can kind of annoy people that, like, everybody's passing and people are doing these weird things that are just totally gamey. But this is gamey too. So now we're at 3 operating rounds, new company coming out with a big pile of $1,000 on it, and all kind of possibilities open. The biggest thing is he's going to be able to buy the $600 train, because various facets, right? And that makes the $800 train his problem. Which he may not even really want to have happen, but he's set up for it. It's going to have to happen. He's not set up in a great position for it, but he's set up in terms of the money in the right places, etc. This was the plan, was to get another train. It is not to sit there and watch that 6 train disappear and then not push the 4 out, or the 4D out. And we'll see how all these tools work together. The crashing that creates, what's that going to do? Well, it's not going to destroy anybody's company. Nobody's going to, it's just, in terms of, it's not going to knock all the trains out so that somebody takes another bankruptcy dive. Everybody who's got a 3G is in good shape for lasting the game. So it's not going to throw a lot more cash in here either. But some of that cash is going to go back, there's no question. And then it's going to run harder and hotter, and the payouts are going to be big. And they're not just going to be the B&O's payouts being big. B&O's got some real worries there. Now, is there someone who can buy the B&O's train, not before the C&O goes and causes the problem? Because the B&O could buy the 6 if, like, I guess the N&W would be the only choice there. He might have been willing to. He's got no train capacity for it. Yep, and that's all there is to it. I'm going to load this one up and say goodnight.